Hey guys, welcome back. I am finally outside. It feels incredible. It's 20 degrees today, and we have a lot we need to get done in the garden before we start planting. We need to top up all of our raised beds. We need to amend it with some compost, and I did a soil test yesterday, and some beds are not as great as I thought. Now, I should have done this soil pH test in the fall, but at the end of the season, I was tired and I was sick of my garden, and I didn't want to go back in once I did my last harvest of 2025. So I'm doing it now, and while the changes won't take effect immediately, I'm hoping to test again at the end of the season and see if things have changed dramatically, at least for the 2 raised beds that we need to amend today. So today we're going to go through each of the raised beds, talk about what changes I'm going to make to those beds, and then also we're going to amend them, and I'll share the pH test with you as well, because I think it's important that you see what things look like at the beginning of the year, and then we can do a comparison at the end of the season. But before we get started, if you're new here, hi guys, my name is Marsha the Blackthumbgardener, and I live in Ontario, Canada, Zone 5B, and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'd love for you to subscribe, and if you're returning, welcome back, and thank you so much for supporting my channel. Now let's get started. So this is what my main garden looks like. I have quite a few raised beds here, and I do have a very small backyard garden, but I've been able to pack a lot of things in. I have 2 really tall raised beds that my husband built a few years back, which is great because my knees are struggling. So this is really handy. And I have a trellis arc that connects the 2 raised beds together. So of the 2 big raised beds here, I only tested this one. And I'll share what the soil pH levels are on this bed and also the NPK. The NPK of this bed, again, low nitrogen, high phosphorus, high potassium, but my pH levels are just a little bit more alkaline than they should be. So we do need to make some amendments to this bed. We don't really have to, but I'm going to put some of the amendments in this bed. And then in the middle, I have 3 raised beds, and I built these 3 raised beds last year. I do have that video. I'll link it down below. 2 of the raised beds have garlic. And in fact, in this raised bed, the garlic is already coming up. Look at that. Now this middle raised bed, I also tested. I didn't test the ones that had garlic in it, but I did test this middle one. We just set these 3 up this past year, so I figured they should pretty much be the same. This raised bed is perfectly fine. It doesn't have any nitrogen, or it has very low nitrogen. Similar to the other raised beds, but the pH levels were neutral, so I'm not going to do anything except top it up with potting mix and compost. This back cedar raised bed I did test, and it's the same thing as a middle raised bed. The pH levels were fine, and the NPK is just low on nitrogen. But this raised bed is a big problem. The NPK, similar to the others, was low on nitrogen, but the pH level is just out of control. I just don't know. It's not out of control, but the pH levels are high. So this bed definitely needs to be amended. I could not grow tomatoes here without amending this bed. This is why I'm going to put the brassicas here, because they can tolerate a higher pH level, not too high. So we definitely do need to make changes to this bed. And I'll talk about what I'm going to be amending this bed with. So this is what we're using today to amend my raised beds or top it up. I do have a bale of Pro Mix here. This is the organic vegetable and herb mix. This is what I use in all of my raised beds. And I buy this from Costco. It's about $20 Canadian, and I think it is totally worth it. Sometimes Costco will put it on sale for maybe like $16, $17, but even at $20, it's a great price. And for my compost, I use this product called Bio4. It has manure and peat with bark in it. I've been using Bio4 for years, so I really like the product, and it's really good if you have clay soil. It's great at breaking up the clay soil. So I do add this to my garden bed throughout the season, and it's worked wonders. Like if you need to break up clay soil, definitely use Bio4. I highly recommend that product. in addition to Bio4 and the Pro Mix, I have one more thing that I'm going to be using to amend my raised beds. I consider this the icing on the cake. This is what I top at the end. I'll use this product to also plant a lot of my seedlings, but I also will amend the beds with it, and that is worm castings. And for the raised beds that are more alkaline, I'm going to be amending it with some elemental sulfur. This is the Green Flag elemental sulfur. It's 90%, and this is used to decrease soil pH. Now, if you had more acidic soil, then you would be using lime to amend your bed. Now, again, this is not going to change the pH overnight, so this is going to take some time for it to take effect. I do want to talk about the test quickly. So the one that I got from Amazon exclusively tests the soil pH. I did not like it. It did not work. The soil pH came out the same for every single bed. And I think there's something wrong with it, or it could be me, it could be the user. I didn't feel like it was user friendly. The one I got from Canadian Tire, it was about $20. I thought that one was great because it tested the NPK and the soil pH at the same time. Now, it doesn't give you a number, but at least it tells you from a color range if you have high or low pH. And I was also able to use AI to also analyze and read the colors for the different beds. And it was able to kind of affirm some of my suspicions about each of the raised beds based on that color grading system, which has been very helpful. I think that if you use the rapid test, it's a lot easier, and I personally like that test better than all the ones that I've used. If you do need to test your soil pH, you really should be testing it in the fall. If you also want to test your NPK, you should test that in the fall. But I think testing it now is very handy because at least when it gets to fall, we can just test how things have changed. We're going to be adding the elemental sulfur today, so we'll see whether the elemental sulfur works or if it doesn't work. So this is all a garden experiment and we're having fun. I am not a soil scientist, but I know one who is. If you want to hear from a soil scientist, then I highly recommend you see Ashley from Gardening in Canada. Love her channel. I've been following her for years. So if you want to learn more about the science behind gardening, then I would definitely check her out. Okay guys, before we get started, I need to remove the irrigation from all of these beds that I'm amending today. And then I also need to remove, I have a lot of stems in here from last season. This is all the broccoli stems. And I do have some weeds I see popping up. So I'm going to get rid of all of that first, and then we'll top up the beds. Guys, just the silence of working in the garden, it's just peaceful. It feels good. It's just so quiet. You hear the birds. It's just a really nice time in the garden. So my goal was to use 1 bag of potting mix to amend all the beds that were low in soil level. And I have about 3.5 beds. The 2 tall raised beds needed to be topped up. This raised bed in the middle needed to be topped up, and then the cedar bed on the side just needed just a tiny bit of soil. And I just usually dump everything into 1 bed, and then I just spread it throughout the garden. You see it right there? So cute. Look, it's in the bird feeder, guys. This is crazy. come back. Guys, this is so cool. There's this tiny, cute little bird that keeps going to the feeder, and I'm trying to get a video of it, but it just escapes me because it's so fast. But it's so nice working out here and then having the birds hang around the feeder, grab a bite as I'm working throughout the garden. So hopefully they'll get used to me and they'll be comfortable with me being in the garden while they're going to the feeder. So Kingsyard still has that sale on. It's 20% off using my discount code BLACKTHUMB. So if you are interested in grabbing a bird feeder this season, I highly recommend it based on my experience. I'm only recommending things that I have used. You can check out the link in the description below. Oh, and one more thing. I forgot to show you the update on the winter sowing because it's in between the raised beds. And this is what they look like right now. Let me see if I can get in there. Oh, let me lift it up. Can you guys see that? I have no idea what this is. No idea whatsoever. And there's stuff happening here too. Look at that. So excited. No idea what these things are. I have to wait to open the containers. This is the ketchup container. Oh, so excited. Look at this stuff. No idea what this is. Can I see the, no, I can't see the tag. Look at that. And in the vinegar jug, I don't know if you could see that in there. So things are happening with my winter sowing. I am so excited about that. Okay, let's add the compost to this bed. Okay guys, we are done adding potting mix and compost to 4 of the beds. This looks so good. It feels incredible. And yes, I'm using my bare hands because what's better than putting your bare hands in some really nice fluffy soil? Just look at that. I'm gonna grab my worm castings and let's go top up our raised beds. This is so heavy. Oh, there we go. And you don't need a lot. I'm not gonna pour a ton. And I'm just gonna rake it in with my fingers. I have a lot more worm casting I'm gonna be adding over the season as I plant up the bed. I just need it in this bed for now, because I'm going to be starting some seeds in this bed shortly. Okay, I think we're done. I'm just going to put the irrigation back on. There we go. This bed is done. This is so heavy. That's it. This bed was the one that had high pH, so we're also going to add some elemental sulfur to this bed while we're here. Let me do that now. I don't think we need a lot in this bed. The pH wasn't that high, but it was high enough that it made me concerned. So depending on your soil texture, it tells you how much product you need to get your pH to a certain level. So for example, if you want to decrease your soil pH level to 7 and your pH is a 7.5. If you have sandy soil, you need 3 kilograms or 6.6 pounds. If you have loamy soil, then you need 6 kilograms or 13.2 pounds. And if you have clay, you need 8 kilograms or 17.6 pounds. And it's per 100 meter square. So I have loamy soil based on the soil texture that I have. And this pH is about 7.5 right now. So technically I need the 6 kilogram per 100 meter square. And you want to know how big this is, right? Hold on, let me do some math. Okay, based on the size of this raised bed, this is a 2x4 raised bed. And based on the requirements and the pH to get it down to a 7, I need about 45 grams of elemental sulfur, which is very, very tiny. So I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit over the soil, and that should be enough. On my Vego bed, I'll need more just because of how big that bed is. But yeah, you definitely should do the math. Otherwise, you'll add way, way too much to your bed. I think this is more than enough. It's just a tiny bit. Remember, this bed doesn't need that much modification, just a tiny bit. It's the other raised bed. Okay, for this bed, for the elemental sulfur, we need to add 2/3 cups just because of how big the bed is and also because of how high the pH is. So the higher the pH, the more product you have to put in to get it down to that 7 pH level. So I'm going to add the worm castings. We're going to amend the bed with the elemental sulfur. If you want to see what the elemental sulfur looks like, this, I don't know if you can see that. This is what it looks like. So we're going to do, this is a 1/3 cup, so we need to do 2 of these. I'm just going to add the irrigation back. It's one long piece that I wrap around and around on the bed. And then we'll come back later on and set it up properly. Okay guys, we are officially done for the day. This is what the garden looks like right now. And all the beds look so good. This one we amended with the elemental sulfur, just a little bit, looks good. This one we added potting mix, a ton of it, worm castings, compost, it's looking really good. This one is what we're going to be planting in next. This bed we added some potting mix, compost, worm castings, it's looking really good right now. And then this bed we just added some potting mix, compost, and worm castings. Over here, this is our problem area. This is the 9-foot Vego bed. We added 2/3 cup of the elemental sulfur, put in some potting mix and worm castings. We don't have compost in this bed, and I really want that compost in the bed. So we got a lot of things we need to do in the garden, and this is just the beginning, guys. I will probably be in the garden pretty much every video, at least, if I can help it. So stay tuned. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye.